solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States.
For me, it was like a double whammy. I'd been the sports guy since I was like 8 years old. And then I've been a Marine my entire adult life. And all of a sudden, at the same time, both of those identities were being stripped away from me. So we talk about not only the immediate change of going from active duty Marine and that lifestyle and that camaraderie and just the way we do everything being over and done with. And then the flip side of, I'm not the guy who's going to be at the gym playing basketball or running, going out and doing mud runs or 5Ks or 10Ks or pick up sports or anything. You know, it's like, whoa, that's who I am. Like, what do you mean I'm not going to be doing that? So I went to a lot of different transition programs. I went to the DoD mandated transition assistance program, the wonderful TAP. I went to it twice. I never completed the program. Both times it pissed me off to the point of, yeah, I just got up and left. And a lot of that, I think a lot of people have that same response to it. And it's because we don't understand what TAP really is for. TAP is to teach us all those things that we need to learn about, but there's no way to teach us that in 5 days. So I joke and say it's like College 100. You go to this college introductory class and tells you, hey, in order to be successful and graduate, you have to do X, Y, and Z. You don't do X, Y, and Z in that same workshop. You pick all your classes. You work with the career counselor, your student success center, and on top of going to all the classes you need to earn your degree. We don't get that training. I had a military headhunter call me up, said, I got a perfect job for you. And like true Marine I was, I'm in traffic, I'm busy, email it to me. If I'm interested, I'll let you know in the morning. Click. He called me back. He's like, this is a 6-figure job. Like, why are you hanging up on me? I'm like, bro, email me. If I'm interested, I'll call you back in the morning. Click. I looked at it. It was everything I did in service, also known as everything I did not want to do when I got out of the Marine Corps. But it was 6 figures. It was doing something I was very good at. 8 miles from my house, which if you're in Southern California, that is, amazing. I took the interview. From the time I got that first phone call to the time I started that job was less than 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So when companies are ready to hire, they're ready to hire. It was the easiest job I ever had in my life. I had no idea why they were paying so much money. It was just one of those ones that most people have said, hey, success was reached right away. And I had no passion or purpose for this job. I left after 4 weeks. Just can't do this. Amazing company, great boss, peers, employees. Again, it wasn't a hard job, but it was manufacturing. And as you said, I did comm in the military. So a lot of behind closed doors, not knowing if it was daytime, nighttime, sunshine, rain. And it's the same thing in manufacturing. And it was like, yeah, I'm not down with this. This is not Bruce. This is not something that I'm going to thrive at. This is not something that's healthy for me. And of course, having served for almost 24 years, I had to get permission from my wife to leave. Because we didn't leave. That wasn't what we did. We signed up for a job, we went to work, and we stayed there. And there's units in the military that we absolutely loved and wish we never left. And there's units we couldn't wait to leave. But you showed up to work and you did what you're supposed to do until it was time to move on. So that was like a weird concept. And for a lot of us, we sign a military contract and we go where Uncle Sam tells us to go. We do what they tell us to do. And whether we like it or not, we just put forth the best effort we possibly can. At the same time, while you're trying to do all that, you're trying to do the best thing you can for you and your family to make your transition possible, ready. And it's not hard because we don't know what we don't know. From the time I signed my contract when I was 17, I shipped to boot camp at 18 years and a month. And I ran that all the way until I was 42 years old. So all of a sudden, 42, all I'd ever known was being a Marine. And all of a sudden, you're like, you're not an active duty Marine anymore. You're like, ooh, what's this going to be? When you take that from off the last time, you're like, huh, it's the next day. And you're, what do I do? And that was a weird feeling. And again, I was still going through medical after my ceremony. I was still on the books because I was still having surgeries and everything else, but I wasn't putting the uniform on anymore. So that was that. What is my new routine? What am I going to get up and do? Where do I belong? And again, I consider myself very lucky that I found some amazing mentors, some amazing nonprofits that really connected with me and took me under the wing and were like, hey, this is where you were. Like that first time I told you I was 42 years old when I wrote my first resume. Man, I was at this workshop out in town. It was night one, we had to turn in our resume. And of course, not knowing how to write a resume, I didn't really have one. So a couple hours before class, I'm like trying to put some stuff on a piece of paper, and I don't know anything that goes on a resume. I don't even know what a resume should look like. So I put some wasted ink on a piece of paper, and we get out to the workshop. It was in the evening, and I was professionally embarrassed to hand over that piece of paper that was supposed to be a resume, and it was might as well have just been doodles. And I'll never forget, Janice was the lady who ran the program. She took it from me. She looked at it, looked at me, and said, "This is why you're here." And it was just like, oh, thank you. Thank you for not like beating me up for failing to have some sort of resume. And that was like my jump start. And so we had 2 nights a week for 4 weeks. And I came back on that second night and I was like, here's my resume, like red ink it, like tear it apart. And I had like 3 or 4 versions of it over and it was butchered. People were tearing that thing up. I was like, great. And then I came back the next week and I'd made all the adjustments and improvements. And so like by the 4th and 5th night, it was like, hey, this is really good. Now, of course, I was still trying to figure out who I was and what I wanted to do, which is a struggle. But I had the concept of what a resume should look like, the things that should be on the resume. I was able to start talking about it. So it was definitely there. And again, for me, it was a nonprofit out in Southern California that clicked for me. I know some people, especially since we've gone through COVID and so many things have become virtual, that have gone and found the program here or there that's taken them there. Some go through TAP, and TAP's all they need. More power to them. And that's something we have to really discuss. So many people talk about the transition and so many people struggle. We got to talk about the flip side. There are so many transitioning service members that get out and are very successful right off the bat and don't have these struggles. So we have to make sure we tell that story along with the story of struggles. Because right now people are like, why does everybody get out and struggles? We don't. There's that percentage of us that do. But for the most part, and I'd probably say 80, 90% get out and have success. And they're out there right away. They figured it out. They're working towards it, whether that's found their job, found college, started their own company, whatever it happens to be. They're very successful in doing amazing things. But there's always those that struggle. And I don't care if you did 2 years and got out or you did 40 years and got out. There's a variety of people that get out and are successful right away and a variety of people that get out and struggle. And age isn't the factor. Rank isn't the factor. It's different for each and every single one. And some people, they knew they were getting signed a 4-year contract. And at the end of 4 years, I was getting out and I was going to this school and I was doing this, or I was going to work for this company, and they made it work. And there's other of us who get out and we're like, what am I supposed to do with my hands? We have to understand that there is no end all be all for any of us. And it varies. And I've seen people where you just looked and said, that person's going to be successful without question. And they struggle the most. And then you have that, oh yeah, he or she's going to get out and they'll be lucky if they can flip burgers at McDonald's or whatever. And next thing, they're running their own business and they're hiring the senior enlisted, those officers with the MBAs to work for them because they had it together. And so we have to make sure that we talk about all those stories, not just the struggles, because there's so many people that thrive. There's two programs out there that I absolutely love for mentorship. One's Veterati. That is a free platform where transitioning service members, veterans, military spouses can sign up for a free profile, and they can request a 1-hour conversation with the 1,000+ mentors that are on there, and you pick who you have that conversation with. You request that time. I think it's great for informational interviews. It's great to talk to people who've been there, done it, that are in the industry you think you want to be in, that are doing that job that you think you want to be. They're at a company that you want to work for. They're in a city or a state that is of interest to you. So I love telling people, you go to Veterati first. You have these informational interviews. And as you really figure out, okay, I want to go do X. Great. Now that you figure out X, this is where we go to my other favorite one, which is American Corporate Partners, ACP. You sign up and you get a 1-year mentorship where it's you and one mentor picked for you that is an industry expert. They can tell you the ins, the outs, can make the connections, assist you with what's going on, and really tell you the truth about what that job, that industry is. So both are completely free. Use them in conjunction. And so I tell people today, get on Veterati, start having conversations. One, everybody needs a mentor because none of us know it all. Knowledge is power, and we don't even know what question to ask yet. So hopping on there and having a conversation with somebody and saying, I'm getting out in 6 months, I'm getting out in 12 months, I'm getting out in 3 years, whatever your timeline happens to be, I don't know what I want to do yet. It'll spark a conversation. People will be on there. If you connect with me, whether it's LinkedIn or others, I'm going to send you a list of resources, and it's about 15 of them that I like to call core, that I really enjoy, and they hit a very broad spectrum. And that's going to help you reach out and get a feel for, okay, I like this one, I didn't really like that one. And again, as you start doing it, it helps you figure out where you belong, what's right for you, what's not right for you. And most importantly, if you fail to do any of it, if you fail to act, you're just putting yourself in a bad situation. So having those conversations, getting started. And I can shout out and talk about Acton Education. I can talk about Syracuse University's Institute for Veteran and Military Families, Onward Opportunity. We talk about certifications. We can go back down there, and again, if you're like, I'm going to get out and I'm going to go to college. Okay, well, don't just go to any college. College is out there will steal your money, and you'll walk away with nothing and be frustrated because your GI Bill is gone. You don't even have a degree, and you're just like, I just wasted that. So have conversations with people. I figured out what my path was going to be. That I was going to do HR while in. So I went and got my degrees while in service in HR. And then I had those first conversations on ACP, and I was like, oh my goodness, like this guy's telling me everything I don't want to do in HR. But then we talked about HR being this big, and we narrowed it down to that's couple type of roles in HR that spoke to me. We talk about everyone wants to be in IT or everyone wants in cyber. That's great. There's a million different jobs. Which ones do you really want to be at? Just like everybody wants to be a project management. I'm going to be a project manager. Okay. And what? In IT, logistics, medical. People like, I'm going to be a project manager. You're like, what is that? I manage projects. You're like, but what? And I love Project Management Institute. Worked for them for a little bit. Great company. It's a great thing, but you have to understand what that is. And a lot of people are like, well, that's what we did in the military. To a point, you did, but you didn't go all in. So there's other things to do. Just like the two things that everybody's told is when you get out, you can be a project manager and operations manager, but no one defines those for you. So people just go out there. As I was told, I could be an operations manager. What is that? Manages operations. Like you doing surgery. What kind of operations are we talking? And those are those things that people don't drill down and have the conversations necessary to really learn it. So as we talk about it, Conversations matter. Have as many of them as possible. And just because you heard from one person, well, that one person might not have been the best person for you. Have those conversations with 3 or 4 people and see what starts to stick, see what keeps coming back up. I've got people on Veterati where I'm like, oh, you want to be a project manager? I know who I'm going to refer you to talk to, because in 15 minutes, you're either going to be all in or all out. And people joke. I'm like, no, like, one of my Marine brothers, he's going to give it to you straight. And you're either going to be like, I can't wait to do this. Or you're going to be like, I wanted to hang up the phone and run away and cry, because it was like, it burst my bubble. But these are those things that we have to do. We have to have conversations. We have to go down the rabbit hole and figure out what's right for us. And I'll tell you, I was in San Diego. Living in San Diego, that cost of living is really high. The salary requirements and the expectations were much higher for me. When I moved to Jacksonville, Florida, it was a 40% drop in cost of living. It was a very high on our reasons for moving here. That I have to make X amount was greatly reduced. So when people start talking about that, those are things that people have to look at. I want to make 6 figures. Okay, 6 figures in New York is a lot different than 6 figures in Omaha, Nebraska. In New York, you can make 6 figures and still be living in poverty. You can go to Omaha, Nebraska, you make 6 figures, you're living large. So it's understanding these things. People say, I want to go home to my hometown. While you were gone, your hometown changed. There's that saying, you can never go home again, because things change while you're gone. And some people are like, I want to go back to my small town, the one stoplight, the one stop sign, which is great. But how many employment opportunities are there for you? So it's great if you really want to be there, but unless you have remote or you're going to start your own business or something, you have to be paying attention to these. And so many people make decisions in a vacuum, and they don't actually look at all of the different factors that go into it. So I think that's what we have to do, is we have to have conversations. We have to be realistic about what we want to do. And oh, by the way, when we transition, this is going to be some crazy talk. Many of us are married, have significant others. Don't transition by yourself. Don't think you're going to go out there and what I say goes. Yeah, you're going to get laughed at. Make sure you're having conversations with the spouse. Make sure you're having conversations with the kids. Put all those things in there, because it's extremely stressful. And if you think you're stressed, imagine you're the spouse or you're the kids who doesn't have the highest voice, that's not being included in everything, because it's still the military transitioning the service member. We have to get better at the military understanding we're transitioning the family, that everybody's transitioning, not just an individual. So taking those things into consideration will set yourself up for success, reduce your stress. Anytime you can reduce stress in one of the most stressful periods of your life, you should take full advantage of that. I will tell you the 2 biggest questions that we have problem answering as transitioning servicemen, really as humans. Who are we, and what do we want to do? Because again, I tell you, I was a sports guy. I was an active duty Marine. That's who I was. Those both got ripped away from me at the same time. All of a sudden, you're like, who am I? And then it's okay, what do you want to do? And of course, in the military, and I find it funny, because in the military, I can do anything. And that's an amazing thing, because people are like, oh yeah, I can plug and play you. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. No problem. And we grow, we're planted. Then we get out, and we think when we get out, oh, I've done everything. So you talk to a recruiter, and they're like, so Bruce, what do you do? I'm like, I can do anything. And what they hear is, you have no idea what you want to do, and I don't have time to spend helping you figure it out. And so they walk away from you, and you become that, yeah, hand me your resume, I'll put it in the stack, and they'll throw them away on the way out the door. So we have to understand who we are and how it works. And we can say we want to. The military, we are institutionalized. We're very structured. We go where we're told. We do what we're told. We wear what we're told. And all of a sudden, we're like, I can't wait to get out and have all this freedom. And then we get out and we're like, please take some of the freedom back. There's too much of it. Like understanding where you are and how to be successful. And that takes time, work, conversations, and self-awareness. And a lot of us don't want to ask ourselves the hard questions. We don't want to put ourselves in the uncomfortable truths of, I'm not really good at that. I did it, but I hated doing it. But I could do it. If you hate doing it, don't do it. And there's those that you have to get a job, keep the lights on, food on the table. But those aren't those things that we thrive to do. Those are things that, okay, I'm going to do this while searching for what I really want. And so many people will, hey, I got a job and I just took it. It'll be a horrible job, but they get so fed up the process that I'm just going to take it. And then they're so afraid to leave it because, well, that process wasn't fun. So they're stuck there. And next thing, it's 5-10 years down the road and they're hating life. But it's because they didn't want to put in the work. So we have to put in the work. You get out what you put in.
One piece that I am interested in to ask you, as someone who exists in the hiring space, you've come a long way from getting your resume worked on to now someone who works in hiring. How do you think that veterans can bridge the communication gap between what they know and how they talk and the rest of the world? And how does a veteran learn how to communicate skills, accomplishments, achievements in a way that is befitting of what they've done, but also is understandable and digestible by people who may not have experience with the military?
So expand your circle to include people who have no idea of what we do in the military. Too many of us are afraid to talk to people who don't have that same background. Well, understand 95% of the people that are going to make hiring decisions on us have never served, don't know anyone who served, to a level of being able to interact. They don't speak our language. They don't understand the words coming out of our mouths. So if you only talk to people that have served, you're going to get answers that aren't right. So find mentors, have conversations with people that are hiring managers that work in HR that are in the industries you have but have not served. And again, you will find that there's all kinds of different pockets out there, people who never served that want to serve, that want to do their part by giving back to others and helping you, whether that's mentorship, whether that's going out and finding a chapter for the industry or the profession that you want to be a part of. Go out there and join it. Push yourself out of your comfort zone and talk to people that have a different background than you. Listen to what they have to say. Be vulnerable enough to admit, hey, I'm lost. I don't know what's going on. I have an interest in this. And start talking about it. And a lot of companies, especially those companies that are really big on wanting to hire military veteran, military spouses, have employment resource groups. And they usually have that veteran, military spouse who's a part of it that can translate our skill sets, our resumes. I've had HR professionals that say they have the skills, but I can't understand what's in there. And when they're willing to reach out, it tells me that they really want to work and hire, but they're going out of their way to get answers. And a lot aren't going to do that. So learning how to translate our skills, our titles, the terms that we use. And again, we go back to project management. In service, we do a lot of project management, but we don't understand the terminology as it applies to getting our PMP certification, how it applies in different industries. So it's not that we can't do the job or we don't have the skills. We're just very bad at translating and communicating the knowledge, skills, and abilities that we do have into a non-military language. So we have to work on those barriers. So again, having conversations with people that have different backgrounds than yourself. And I know so many people are like, I don't want to network. I'm afraid of networking. And I always tell people when they say that, I said, hey, did you have that person in admin that you could call when you need something and supply and logistics and motor T? And yeah, of course. That's called networking. We just don't call it that in the military. So when we get out, all of a sudden we're afraid of networking, realizing that we're really good at networking. We've done this our entire careers. So is having those conversations and translating those things. Oh, that's what that is. Yes, you've been doing it and you're really good at it. You just have to change your terminology.
Hey, everybody. I really hope that you liked this supercut of the Post-Military Podcast. If you did and you want to see more, I would recommend that you check out the whole episode, which is here on YouTube and also on multiple different podcasting platforms. If you like this and you want to support the channel, I would ask that you give the video a like, subscribe, and share the content with those who might need to hear it. Thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you in the next episode. Peace.